Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Contents of our today's lecture are: today we'll discuss abnormal operating conditions that need protection in rotating machinery. Those conditions include overspeed, abnormal voltages and frequencies, loss of excitation, loss of synchronism. And then we'll discuss winding connection as well, delta and Y connected stator winding. How do we apply differential protection in case of delta winding and in case of Y winding of machines? Overspeed, remember all these conditions that we are going to discuss now onward in upcoming slides. These problems will be discussed with respect to generators and motors, and we will also discuss how do we provide protection against these problems. Overspeed protection for generator is usually provided on the prime mover because alternator does not have any issue with overspeed as compared to the prime mover side, the turbine side. In case of increase in speed, that is the prime mover which is in trouble as compared to the alternator, the generating part. Because in power plant, the power plant has two components: an alternator which convert mechanical power into electrical power, and the prime mover which drive the shaft and rotor of that alternator. So in case of increase in speed, problem is on the prime mover side instead of on the alternator side. So protection is also provided over there. So detection of overspeed is done with the help of some mechanical mechanism by measuring the speed or by using the frequency of output induced voltage. That is also indication of overspeeding. So in case of overspeed, protection would be provided on prime mover side. So the obvious protection will be just shut down the prime mover, remove the mechanical power from the prime mover. It is important to note that in practical situation where synchronous generator is part of a large interconnected system, overspeeding cannot occur because the system frequency will enforce the operation of generator at synchronous speed. So if due to some problem in the system, a power plant get isolated from the rest of the system, then this issue of overspeeding may occur because there was mechanical power on the shaft and electrical load on the generator. If due to some problem or fault in the system, load is removed from the generator, then the mechanical power on the shaft may result in driving the shaft at much higher speed than the synchronous speed. So that situation must be addressed immediately so that to provide protection to the prime mover. So during overspeed, the turbine presents a greater danger than generator. So this was the discussion regarding the overspeeding of the generators. Now we discuss overspeeding of motors. Overspeed is not a problem with motors since normal overcurrent relay will protect them. If we are driving a motor through motor drive that could control its torque and speed, motor may be operated above the synchronous speed that is defined by the number of pole and frequency. By changing the frequency by using their motor drive, speed can be increased. But if load is also high and speed is higher than the synchronous speed, motor will draw a very high current. So overload protection could detect this problem and provide protection against overspeeding. If we are operating a motor in overspeed condition at lesser torque requirement, keeping the power output of motor constant, that is not a problematic situation at all because motors are designed to operate some higher speed at lesser torque output requirement. Next we discuss abnormal voltages and frequencies and how these abnormal conditions will impact the performance of generators and motors. Remember, voltage and frequencies can be abnormal in two ways. Problem in voltage and frequencies if the value of voltage and frequency is either less or above the rated value. So in this way we have issue in voltage like over voltage, under voltage, and in frequency like over frequency and under frequency. So these four situations will be discussed with respect to generators and motors one by one. Starting from problem of over voltages. Over voltage on a generator may occur due to transient surges on the network, or prolonged power frequency over voltage may arise from a variety of conditions. So it means our voltages are of two types. First type, where we have a transient over voltage, that could be due to lightning or switching in the power system. So in this way we define them: lightning transient and switching transient. So these are short duration, very high amplitude voltages that may cause damage to the insulation. And second type of our voltage is a power frequency. The power frequency means 50 or 60 hertz frequency voltage, that is above the rating. So this our voltage, power frequency over voltage, need further discussion that we'll discuss in later slide. Now come to the first type of our voltage, transient over voltage. For that, surge arresters are required that are connected on the terminal of the generator. So in case of these transient voltage, those transients will be absorbed by these surge arresters. And for our voltage at fundamental frequency or power frequency, these type of our voltage require relays to detect the problem and to take the action. What are the problems that may occur due to over voltages? Over voltage may result in thermal damage to the core due to excessive high flux in the magnetic circuit. Due to increase in voltage, flux produced in the core of the stator will also increase. That excessive increase in flux may result in saturation of core as well as heating in the core. So excessive flux saturates the core steel, flow into the adjacent structures, causing high heat losses in the core and adjacent conductor material. So those adjacent conducting materials are nut bolts which are attached to the core, or it could be the casing of machine that is close to the core. So heating may occur around the core as well due to this overexcitation. Now overexcitation is due to over voltages. Here we discuss this overexcitation problem a little more. Since flux is directly proportional to voltage and inversely proportional to frequency, so the unit of measure for excitation is defined as per unit voltage divided by per unit frequency. If machine is operating at a rated voltage at rated frequency, it will produce rated flux inside the stator core. Now here the excitation, the flux in the core, that is proportional to voltage and inversely proportional to the frequency. It means either increase in voltage or decrease in frequency. Both these situations will result in increase in flux, are known as overexcitation. So instead of just discussing this overexcitation concept in view of voltages, we will have to consider frequency as well. So this overexcitation that may result in heating of the core and metallic material around that core, that is due to voltages as well as frequency. Therefore, our voltage exists whenever the per unit voltage, our hertz voltage, our frequency exceeds the design limits. So it means our voltage condition is discussed by keeping in view the frequency as well. For example, the usual turbine generator design is for 105% of rated voltage per hertz. So it means this ratio, which will be equal to 100% or 1 per unit when we have rated voltage and rated frequency. An acceptable increase in this ratio is up to 1.05 per unit or 105%. It means our voltage or overexcitation condition will exist for a voltage equal to 105% of rated value and frequency equal to the nominal value. So this ratio will result in overexcitation. Similarly, overexcitation will exist if we have a rated voltage and frequency equal to 95%. So this ratio again will become greater than 105%. So it means motor operated at slightly higher voltage as well as at higher frequency does not produce any problem, does not cause any problem as long as this ratio voltage to frequency remains within the limit. Okay, similarly, if frequency is less than the rated value, then voltage should also be less than the rated value, otherwise overexcitation problem may occur. So if voltage is within limit and frequency is less than the rated value, so this overexcitation problem must be addressed in view of voltage as well as frequency. So now here, how do we provide protection against overexcitation or overvoltage condition? Instead of just monitoring the voltage, relay will monitor this ratio voltage to frequency, that is also known as V over F protection, voltage per hertz protection, that will monitor voltage and frequency and take the ratio based upon the value of calculated ratio. Decision will be taken. So that ratio should not go beyond 1.0 per unit or 105%. 105%. Now here we will discuss the impact of our voltages on motors. Motors are connected on the consumer end of power system where power is being utilized by the end consumer. So it is responsibility of utility to maintain the voltage over there within the nominal value, and that is the case everywhere in power system. So our voltage does not occur on the utilization side of power system. So that's why motor does not have such problem of over voltage. So no need to provide any protection to motor against over voltage. Slight over voltage, you can say within plus 10%, that our voltage will make operation of motors even better, because motor will produce more torque and draw less current if the power output is constant. So that's why our voltage is not problematic for motors. Now we will discuss under voltage. Under voltage protection is rarely fitted to generators because under voltage condition does not occur in generator as long as generators are connected to the grid. So if it is used sometimes, then it will be used for interlocking applications. For example, if we want to sync a generator with the bus bar, then we use this under voltage relay to make sure that the voltage is above the set level before synchronizing it with bus bar. If voltage will be less than that value, under voltage relay is going to trip. It means just before closing the final main circuit breaker to sync the generator with the bus bar, under voltage relay will brought in service, and that will make sure that interlocking is not possible unless we have proper voltage available. Similarly, under voltage relays can be used to detect the failure of excitation, that is known as field failure. Another important thing, whenever under voltage protection is applied for interlocking or any other application, make sure that its operation should be delayed. Otherwise, under voltage relay may cause tripping in case of faults. Whenever fault occurs, there will be a dip in voltage at the terminal of the generator, and fault will be removed within few milliseconds and voltage get restored to the normal value. So if there is no delay in the operation of under voltage relay, then under voltage relay may result in unnecessary tripping. So that's why under voltage relay operation must be delayed. So setting must be chosen to avoid maloperation during the voltage dips during power system fault clearance. Now let's see impact of under voltages on the motors. So remember this statement, that under voltage protection is always provided to the motors, because if motor is operating at under voltage condition, motor may not be able to provide the required torque at the shaft, or motor will draw more current, or motor even move into the jamming condition or lock rotor condition. So that's why under voltage protection is always provided to motors, and that will be part of motor starting mechanism. Starting of motor would not be possible if voltage will be less than the set level. Okay, that is the under voltage level of the motor. So the motor starting mechanism will have this protection. A simple way to provide under voltage protection is a contactor whose coil is energized with voltage, and the contactor is used to start the motor. As soon as voltage will be less than the rated value of contactor coil voltage, the contacts will drop out and motor will get isolated from the system. And if voltage will be less, then we will not be able to close that contactor to start the motor. So that is under voltage protection of motor in case of small motors. So under voltage protection is mandatory for motors. Now we will discuss impact of over and under frequency on the operation of motors and generators. So the governor fitted to the prime mover normally provides protection against over frequency, because over frequency in case of generator is actually indication of overspeeding. So it was mentioned that overspeeding was not a problem for alternator. This is actually problematic for prime mover. So that's why prime mover side will be protected against this over frequency or overspeeding condition. Overspeeding is detected with the help of measurement of frequency. Under frequency in generators may occur as a result of overload of generator operating in isolated system. So in case of overload condition, frequency will reduce. So frequency may be detected to detect the overload condition in addition to the current value. Sometimes prime mover does not have power to deliver the rated power of the alternator. So in that condition, when we put the load on the alternator, the frequency will reduce. So instead of just monitoring the current of the alternator to determine the overload, it is important to monitor the frequency as well, because decrease in frequency is an indication that generator has got overloaded. So overloading means the prime mover is unable to meet the requirement of electrical load. So immediate attention is required to provide protection against this overload condition. So it means in generator, instead of monitoring the current, frequency is the parameter that would be detected in order to determine overload condition. So this was the discussion of over frequency and under frequency for generators. If generator is part of interconnected system, a serious fault on power system that results in a deficit of generation compared to load, that may result in reduction in frequency. And this is a situation that results in blackout or cascade outage. When due to a problem in power system, if large generation is taken out of the system by the protection system, the rest of the system, if generation is in deficit as compared to the load, then the frequency of whole system will reduce. So that would be detected by the under frequency relays. So these under frequency relays are installed at sub transmission level in our system, that is 132 kilovolt, and these under frequency relays are installed at power plants. In case of reduction in frequency, immediately response will be given by the sub transmission line under frequency relays to remove those lines, to remove some load from the system. And that should be done as quickly as possible to bring the system back to the normal stable condition. If that process of removing the load from the system is delayed, or you can say does not successfully bring the frequency back, then after a delay, small delay, the power plant under frequency relay will start tripping the power plants. Then this problem will become even worse, because already generation was in deficit. Now the under frequency relays are removing more and more power plant from the system, and that result in the cascade outage of the power plants and complete blackout. Recently, the blackout in our country was in this sequence. The Gudu power plant tripped, and due to that tripping, the system became unstable and could not recover. And ultimately, all the power plants has been removed from the system by these under frequency relays, and there was a complete blackout. Now we will discuss impact of frequency on motor side. Remember again, motors are connected on the utilization or consumer end of the power system. So that is the responsibility of utility to maintain the frequency, and frequency remain pretty much constant during the stable operation of power system. So it means our frequency and under frequency is not a problem for motors. So no need to provide any monitoring or protection against the variation in frequency to the motors. Next we discuss this problem of loss of excitation. This problem is only associated with synchronous generator because excitation is applied to synchronous machines only. So this loss of excitation in generator result in loss of excitation of generator, and in case of synchronous motor it will result in loss of synchronism. When a synchronous generator loses excitation, it operates as an induction generator running above synchronous speed. So its speed will go slightly above the synchronous speed. Only then a generator behave like an induction generator. With the system providing the necessary reactive power support, the round rotor generators are not suited for such operation of synchronous generator as induction generator. Round rotor alternators are not designed for such operation because they do not have damper winding and will quickly overheat from the induced current in the rotor iron. So rotor will start getting heated up in case of round rotor machine. But in case of salient pole generator, the salient poles also have the damper winding on the pole face. So they could carry that induced current up to a limited level. So their operation can be tolerated even for a longer duration as compared to round rotor machines. So here I will explain this concept, what happens due to loss of excitation, with the help of this loading capability diagram of the generator, synchronous generator. This loading capability diagram is developed on power plane, where horizontal axis will be the real power and vertical axis will be the reactive power. Negative real power means that is consumption, positive real power means that is generation. It means if the operating point of generator is on the right side of this plane, generator is operating in generating mode, and if operating point will move on the left side of this plane, so means generator is operating in motoring condition, that is known as motoring of generator. So if generator is operating in our excited mode, so operating point will be here in this region. And if generator is providing real power to the system and absorbing the reactive power from the system, because if reactive power is in excess, then generator will have to absorb that reactive power. Then operation of generator will be here in this fourth quadrant. So whether it is a salient pole generator or a round rotor generator, some level of excitation is required to keep generator in stable condition. Means even if it is absorbing reactive power from the system, there must be some excitation applied to the generator. If we completely lose excitation on the generator side, then that situation will result in unstable operation of generator, because voltage will collapse. There will be a large amount of reactive power being induced in the rotor, so terminal voltage will drop, so heavy current will flow from the system into the generator. Even this generator may become a motor So there will be a disturbance in the operation of synchronous generator if there will be complete loss of excitation. If generator will lose complete excitation, then generator will become unstable. Here is the steady state stability limit of the generator. Its operating point does not go beyond this value. So this is the level. If generator output real power and active power will go beyond this curve, generator will become unstable. Once excitation has been lost, then the control over real power and the reactive power get also lost. Generator may draw very high current that may result in unstable operation. Now we will see how can we detect this loss of excitation problem in generators. There are several methods of detecting under excitation condition. Small units can use power factor or reverse reactive power relay. So power factor and reverse power reactive power reversal, both of these factors can be monitored in order to detect the reversal of reactive power. And the most popular scheme uses an impedance relay as measuring element. So impedance of system is monitored at the terminal of the generator, and based upon that swing in impedance due to loss of excitation, decision is made whether tripping is required or not. So this application is based on the behavior of system impedance as seen from the generator terminals for various underexcited conditions. Here in this graph we can see here, this is the impedance relay characteristic for the detection of faults. Okay, when fault occurs, impedance of the system will move from outside of the circle into the tripping region, and relay would respond to this situation as a fault condition. But in case of loss of excitation, impedance will swing into the fourth quadrant. Here we are using an other impedance relay. So these impedance relay characteristics are used to detect the loss of excitation, because here in this region impedance will move over here in case of loss of excitation from the normal condition. So here are impedance swing for a large system, and this graph shows impedance swing of a small system. So whenever loss of excitation will occur, impedance will swing from first quadrant to fourth quadrant and into the tripping region of this loss of excitation impedance relay. If generator was already operating in under-excited condition, so that operation will be somewhere here. Due to loss of excitation, complete excitation, that point will move inside the operating region of this impedance relay, which is responding to the loss of excitation. Next we discuss loss of synchronism. The loss of field current in synchronous motor will result in loss of synchronism. Loss of synchronism of synchronous motor is the result of loss of excitation, exactly as with a synchronous generator. Synchronous generator will become induction generator, and due to loss of synchronism, synchronous motor may become induction motor if the rotor has damper winding. Otherwise, rotor magnetic field pole will slipping behind the stator magnetic field, and ultimately motor will reach to the halt condition. For large synchronous motors, out-of-step protection is applied to detect pull-out by counting the power reversal that occurs as pole slips. When we have loss of synchronism of synchronous motors, the rotor magnetic field pole will start slipping over the stator magnetic field, and that will result in pulses of power reversal. So as soon as this pole slip will occur, there will be a pulse of a reverse power towards the system from this motor, because motor will act as generator for that short duration, that could be a fraction of a second, but that pulse could be counted in order to make the detection that pole slipping has occurred. So this out of step protection is actually making count of that power reversal. And in small synchronous motors with brush type exciters, we normally use AC voltage relay in the DC circuit. Here let's see, this is excitation circuit. Here in this field circuit, where we have applied a DC across the synchronous motor field, and our voltage, AC our voltage relay is used over here in the field circuit to detect any AC voltage. In case of normal operation, this our voltage relay would not be able to sense any voltage because only DC will exist over here. As soon as loss of synchronism will occur, rotor will rotate at speed lesser than a synchronous speed due to this relative speed difference between stator magnetic field and rotor, and AC voltage get induced in the rotor that would be detected by this AC over voltage relay. So this type of application of our voltage relay to detect loss of synchronism is only limited if we have the physical access, the electrical connection with the field winding, that is with the help of carbon brushes and slip rings. If we are using brushless exciter, then this type of detection is not possible. Then its alternate is no AC voltage is present when motor is operating at synchronous speed. This scheme is not applicable to motor having brushless excitation system. And then alternate is power factor relay, because in case of normal operation, synchronous motors are operated in overexcited condition, mean they are absorbing the real power and providing reactive power to the system. And in case of loss of synchronism, it will start absorbing real power as well as reactive power. So its power factor will change from leading to lagging. So this lagging power factor is an indication of loss of excitation or poor excitation. Now here at the end of the lecture, we will discuss the winding connections for different configuration of generator stator winding. How do we make connection of differential relay? So first condition, if generator stator winding is Y connected, so here you can see how we will connect the differential relay on two ends. Differential relay require current from the two ends of the machine to compare with each other. So that's why we can see here 3 set of CTs has been installed here and 3 set of CTs has been installed over here. Remember, the polarity marking of these CTs must be either towards the machine on both sides or away from the machine on both sides. Here we can see the polarity marking end of the CTs are mounted in such a way that these markings are away from the machine winding on both sides. Then dotted end of two sides will be connected with each other and undotted end will be connected with each other. So you can see here the phase 1 is connected with the phase 1, phase 2 here with phase 2, phase 3 with phase 3. CT ratio on both sides will be exactly same, and in this way only difference current or spilling current will be able to flow towards the differential branch. Now don't get confused with this symbol. This is not the grounding symbol. It is just describing the common connection point. Mean we had made a neutral point over here, neutral over here, neutral at this point, and these neutrals are connected with each other. Just to keep the circuit simple or to keep the connection simple, we have mentioned it with this grounding symbol. It means this point, and over here this point are connected with each other. Just to keep the diagram clean, we have mentioned that this is a common connection point of these 3 star points. Next is delta connected machine winding. Here is the diagram for delta connected machine winding. Here I will complete the connection step by step in front of you. The 3 set of CTs will be provided in the line terminals. So here the primary of these CTs are carrying the line current of this machine, whether it is motor or generator. We are not concerned about that. The three other CTs will be added into the delta connection winding, mean in series with each of these phases. Now we cannot connect these three CT secondary current like we have done in Y-Y connection. Reason, because these two CTs are carrying a primary current which has a magnitude difference by a factor of under root 3 and a phase difference by a factor of angle of 30 degree. So due to this reason, we cannot have connection like we have done in case of Y connected winding. Now in order to remove that phase shift impact and to remove that difference of magnitude, we will have to connect these three set of CTs in delta as well. Now before making the delta connection, we will have to see whether the generator or this motor stator winding has a leading delta connection or a lagging delta connection. Okay. In order to understand this, whether it is leading or lagging, just look at this point. The current which is flowing out here at this node, that is equal to I1 first phase minus I2 second phase, mean that is this value I1 minus I2, mean we are subtracting a lagging current from a leading current, so that is a leading delta. How it is leading delta? Because this line current is like this. For example, this was I1 prime, I2 prime, I3 prime. The phase angle between them is 120 degree and displays having the phase sequence ABC 1, 2, 3. Then this I1 prime minus I2 prime, this is minus I2 prime, and by adding these two with the help of head to tail rule, this would be this current in solid form I1 prime minus I2 prime, this one, exactly this current. We can see this current is having a magnitude under root 3 times greater than this corresponding phase and also leading corresponding phase current by 30 degree. What does it mean? It means current here in this CT secondary is under root 3 times greater than current here in this CT secondary and also advanced by 30 degree as compared to this current. So we will have to increase the magnitude of current over here and also advance the CT secondary current over here on these CT's side. That could be done by connecting the CT secondaries in leading delta. So if this is I1 minus I2, make sure that this current is also I1 minus I2. So here we will make the connection. This is current I1. If I connect the other one at this point, so current coming out, this will become I1 minus I2. Prime has been removed because now it is on the CT secondary side. Now the primary of this CT was carrying I1 prime minus I2 prime and secondary is carrying I1 minus I2. So let's connect these two currents together. Here at this node, the amount of current approaching from this side is exactly same as the amount of current which is leaving, and we have compensated the phase difference as well by connecting the CT secondaries in delta. Next is, here we want a current I2 minus I3 as mentioned over here. So this is I2. So we will have to subtract I3 from it. So it means this current would be I2 minus I3. So let's make its connection. here. The only connection remaining is for this line, that should be I3 minus I1. This is I3 terminal. Let's subtract I1 from it. This is I1. Okay, and connect here at the third terminal. Now these three CT secondaries have been connected in delta as well, and the sense of delta connection is same as the delta of this machine winding. Okay, now the two currents which are approaching to this node and leaving this node, similarly approaching to this node and leaving this node, similarly approaching this node and leaving this node, are equal in magnitude as well as in phase. If actual delta connection of generator winding was a lagging delta, then CT secondary should also be connected in lagging delta formation. CT ratio must be same on two sides. The phase difference and the magnitude difference will be compensated by connecting CT secondaries in delta. So you may be asked to draw these connections in quiz or in exam. Third situation, if the winding has split phase winding, then the comparison in current will be done in this way. One of the CT will be inserted in one winding, other will be in the second winding. Both these windings belongs to same phase. So in normal condition, these two windings are supposed to carry equal current, share the current of a phase. So here I1 and I2 will be exactly same in normal condition. When fault occurs, the difference would be detected by this differential relay. So that is for split phase winding. Split phase winding means we have splitted each phase in more than one winding. Then wire connected winding with the neutral CT. In this configuration, there was no provision to add CTs over here at this point. Means neutral was connected inside the machine. As you can see here, that is within that dotted end, and that was not accessible to insert these CTs over here. Now if we want to apply the differential, and that differential will only be for ground fault, and this is how that differential will be connected. In three CTs are inserted in the line, and one CT has been inserted in the neutral circuit. And here this is the tripping coil, operating coil, and these three are restraining coil. So operating coil will carry current only if we have a zero sequence current, means three restraining coil current sum is not equal to 0, and that would result in case of a line to ground fault or a double line to ground fault. So basically this type of protection, differential protection, is used for the detection of ground faults. So that is the end of the lecture. Thank you very much.